So I was watching a video on Moist Critical, right? He was talking about the interview Phil Spencer did a few days ago, talking about Redfall and everything, the bad launch. To the credit of Phil Spencer, I really liked that interview they did with him because he was very honest about the whole launch of the game without 60 FPS on the Xbox and other details they mentioned in the interview. Good interview. I appreciate how honest he was in it. Really good, especially coming from the head of Xbox, which is really cool to see because not many CEOs or anything like that do that in like any corporation. It doesn't really happen, so I really did appreciate that of Phil Spencer. But when I was watching the video, because I didn't mention this in my other video, but I think that same interview about how Redfall wasn't good and everything, that Phil Spencer had said that something along the lines of that just because they would release good games, that wouldn't mean that people would sell their PS5s to get the Xbox. Like for example, if Starfield was just, and he said 11 out of 10, that people would just sell their PS5s to get an Xbox. So that making great games wouldn't do much. And when I heard that, like I had to replay that part of the video because in my head I'm like, how does that make any sense? That's a pretty, no offense to Phil, that's a pretty like dumb take, because you're selling a console, right? Obviously I know Xbox is becoming more than a console, I guess you can say, because of Game Pass and it's on PC and they're releasing it on PC as well. I get that. But if you're trying to release consoles, right? A console is a video game system, as in the primary thing you would do on that system is play games. So obviously if you release great games, you would sell consoles. And think of the notion that someone will sell a PS5 to get an Xbox for great games is not a good notion to have, because even though yes, people, you have their fanboys of, I don't only have Xbox, I only have PlayStation. Yes, those people exist, but like there's also people, for example like me, that own every system, the Switch, the PlayStation, the Xbox. So me on the Xbox, that thing is gathering dust. Do I tell you? That thing barely gets to turn on. So what about them? These people that own all the systems. Well, we want to use our Xbox. I want to use my Xbox. I would like to have a reason to use my Xbox. But there's no good first party games. All the third party games I'd rather just play it on my PlayStation. Just have everything more streamlined, because I know the first party game will be coming to PlayStation. So like, what about that? And then even then, what about the people that are only Xbox? What are you gonna give them to play? Third party, yes, okay, whatever, but that's not what's gonna be your system seller. Like, I can play Call of Duty on my Xbox, okay, that's not gonna sell systems though. Now let's say in the alternate timeline Halo Infinite sold, that's the system seller right there. Or Fable, system seller. Or Gears game. I'm not a big fan of the most recent Gears games by the Coalition, but let's just say, in my opinion, if they turned out to be pretty good, system seller. So you would need great games to sell systems. Like, if I were to play a clip of Sony's most recent first party game, God of War,
This is for Modi!
compared to Xbox's most recent first party, Redfall,
she's coming. She'll want to see for herself.
it's night and day. And at the end of it, if I showed you those clips, I'd be like, this for the PS5, this for the Xbox. Which system do you want? Obviously, people are gonna be like, the PS5, this game looks way better, more polished, cutscenes are amazing. Gameplay looks amazing. Redfall, I'm pretty sure it's just still cutscenes, which is baffling to me. And then the gameplay doesn't look that interesting, not that engaging. So, and guess what those are? Those are games. One's a great game, one isn't. And that great game sold systems, made a lot of money for Sony. So, you see, you do need great games to sell systems. And then, obviously, it's just, you do need the great games, but don't expect people to sell the systems to get your system. That's not how it is. You need people to want to buy your system, not sell another thing to get your system. It's like a backwards way of thinking. That makes no sense in my opinion. So it's like, it's just because even if you look back at Xbox's past, in my opinion, my favorite system of all time, their greatest generation, the Xbox 360. Even with the 360's like physical console flaws, like the Red Ring of Death, that system sold. It made money. But guess what it had? Great games. For example, one of the greatest games ever made, probably the greatest FPS ever made, Halo 3. And then also followed by Halo Reach and Halo ODST. And then you had Gears 1, 2, 3, all critically and player acclaimed. Those are great games that sold systems, made money, and throughout that system, console generation, they would release those games and other bangers left and right. People would want them and buy them. It's just how it goes. They didn't do that with the Xbox One. Obviously, there's other reasons why the Xbox One tanked, but that's one of the big reasons is because it didn't have great games. But then what Sony did in the PS4 generation is what Xbox did during the 360 generation, which was release great games. The PS4 generation, just to name a few titles: Spider-Man PS4, Uncharted 4. The controversial Last of Us Part 2, by my opinion, I do have problems with it, like story-wise, but gameplay-wise and world-building-wise, it's a really good game. Spider-Man Miles Morales, yes, it's a cross-gen game, but still, you can only get it on PlayStation. Horizon Zero Dawn is also a really good game. So you see, system sellers, exclusives, first-party, great games that sold hundreds of PS4s. So you do need great games to sell systems. And to branch out a little bit out of Sony and Microsoft, Nintendo. Personally, I don't know anybody that buys a Nintendo Switch to play third-party games. Like, I'm not buying a Switch to play Elden Ring. Makes no sense. You buy a Switch to play your Marios, your Zeldas, the Kirbys, the Metroid, Mario Kart, Mario Party. Literally, their first-party catalog is unrivaled. For example, Tears of the Kingdom comes out Friday, right around the corner. That's a system seller. That will make them millions of dollars. What is that? A great game. Going back, Breath of the Wild, system seller. Great game. Mario Odyssey, great game. My opinion, Fire Emblem Engage or Fire Emblem Three Houses. They sold a lot. They're great games. So you see, games sell systems. They make money. System sellers. So you do need great games to succeed in the gaming industry if you're a console manufacturer. Not the notion of make great games so I would sell my system to buy another system. It doesn't work like that. You make great games to sell systems. That's how it should be. That's how they should think. That's how they process the information. Sony has it down pat. They know we make Spider-Man 2 amazing. We're going to sell a system. I know it isn't made by Sony, but Final Fantasy 16, I bet they gave them a good amount of money to make it and to put exclusive on it. We could only play it on PS5 when it launches next month. System sell it. There's already a bundle release with it too that they announced. So you see, you do need games. I know maybe he wasn't trying to come off like that, but it's like, my opinion, that's how, like, when I read that, that's what came into my head. Like, all this thought. It's just, I want Xbox to succeed, but what they're saying and what they're doing is not making them succeed. And it kind of hurts because I love the 360, my favorite system. Some of my favorite games of all time, favorite franchises were on the 360. So I want them to succeed, be toe to toe, head to head with Sony and PlayStation. But the way they're doing it doesn't seem like it. I don't want them to lag behind, but it's just how things seem to be going. Hopefully they can turn their stuff around, maybe with Starfield, and then keep the momentum going if that game turns out to be good. But yeah, that's kind of my take. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for hearing me out. Till next time, see ya.